Hello and welcome to this expert pattern recognition video featuring puzzles rated 2000 to 2200. So I mentioned before I had a viewer that thought the 1800 to 2000 puzzles were maybe too easy. They solved them in 10 or 15 seconds apiece. So hopefully these will be a little bit more of a challenge. If you're lower rated, you can still try these and see how you do. But if you're new to pattern recognition, basically you want to solve a set of puzzles and do them more than once. That way you don't just solve them once and forget the patterns that you see. All right, so what do we do here? Well, we want to see what our opponent just did. They moved their bishop here, pinning our knight to our queen. Okay. So if you want to create a system that'll help you figure out what to do in your games or in solving these puzzles, you can look to see what your opponent's move did. What are they trying to achieve? What did it accomplish? Do they have any threats? Well, yes, they're pinning the knight to our queen, so we have to be aware of that. Well, then you want to take a quick look at the material. We have 6 pawns. Our opponent has 6. We both have the bishop pair and a knight, queen and 2 rooks. Now, our king is castled to safety. Theirs is kind of out in the open here. So if we could open things up because we have a rook aimed at their king, maybe that's the way to go. So what should we do here? Now, one option might be to capture here. Then we're threatening the bishop. And we also maybe have a discovered attack. So if we capture that pawn, how will they recapture? Well, if they capture with their bishop, we could trade off queens, then maybe go after this. So capture, and pause the video at any time if you want to think longer without me giving away clues or answers. So if we take, and generally you want to take with the lowest valued piece first and work your way up, in general. Now, whatever basic guidelines there are in chess, the rules can always be changed. So you do have to do a little bit of calculation. You don't want to just blindly follow rules, such as usually you want to capture with the lower valued piece first and work your way up. So if we capture here, what are the options? The knight could capture if they want to keep their bishop pair. Then what do we do? If we capture their knight with our knight, well, then our queen could get picked off. So maybe we capture the knight with check. Then what? If they capture our rook, we could trade queens off. If their rook recaptures, well, let me look at this again because it's starting to get complicated here. Capture, capture, rook captures the knight. If the bishop captures, well, then we capture with check. The rook recaptures. And then our knight can jump up here and take the bishop. But then another issue might be, can they deliver a back rank check? That could be an issue. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move or play this just to keep the video going. Okay, they don't want that, so maybe there's something even more forcing. Can we afford to take with the knight? So maybe we try that. We take with the knight. If they take our queen, we could take their knight with a discovered attack. but they could, and their queen would be under attack. Then what? I mean, does that even work? Well, I'm going to try it because, we want to keep this video moving along. All right, so now we go through with our plan here, unless there's something better, which I don't see. So we go there. Now we can grab the queen. So if they take, we get their bishop. So they would probably want to move their bishop. And our knight is kind of trapped. Well, no, our knight can go here, backed up by our bishop. Anyway, that was rated 2020. On to puzzle number 2. I better try and keep this moving if we want to get 10 of these in. All right, what is happening here? Our rook was attacking the queen. The queen moves forward. Maybe threatening to go here, forking the queen and our king. But then we could just take their queen. So let's count up the material, see who's ahead to begin with. All right, we have 4 pawns. Our opponent has 5. We have 3 minor pieces. Our opponent has 3 as well. But they are ahead by a rook. Okay, we could go ahead and take, evening things up. But, you want to look at checks first, as they are the most forcing. So, if we go here, check, the king can what? If he goes here, we can deliver a mate. If he goes here, we can capture with check and then deliver a mate. So I think that's the way to go. Check. Now just to double check, probably best to go this way, and then once the king moves, we'll be able to mate on the back rank like this. So, great little pattern there of the rook and queen working together with the final attack on the back rank, and the queen also preventing the king from running forward. All right, that was rated 2170. On to puzzle number 3. King has just captured here. Okay, so this is almost like an endgame puzzle. Now, something we definitely need to be careful with. We have a bishop that is on the light squares. The promotion square is on the dark squares. So if that king can get over here to the H-file, it would be able to it would be a drawn endgame. So how can we prevent the king from getting over there? Do we push forward here, covering that, and then try and get our bishop up here? To cover this. So we would kind of make a little wall. The king would have to come down and attack our bishop, but would that be enough time to run forward? I think it would. So if we move here and the king goes that way, well then once again we can just go here, preventing the king from heading towards the H-file because of pawn and bishop. So then what? If they attack our bishop, we can let them take that and just push our pawn forward. All right. So I think that's the way to go. No, they do not want that. Now why? If we go here, oh, they can go there. All right. So I have to move the bishop first. Okay. So we go there. Now, It makes it a little trickier. So now if we go here, if they go this way, well, then we move our king up, so it's going to be a little bit trickier. If they go this way, we still have that little wall preventing the king from making headway. So, if we push and they take, and we push again, they won't be able to get to our pawn in time. So we might as well just push forward. So now we're just going to promote. Oh no. Oh, what am I thinking? Man, sorry about that. I'm trying to do the dialogue and the commentary here, and sometimes it's distracting, so I need to pay attention. All right. Oh, wow. This is a tricky one. Do we go here, preventing the king from moving forward? We go there. Now, the problem is, do we go back again? No, because the king will be able to go here. Oh, wow. This might be an outstanding pattern and a very tricky one. Okay, so the threat is going up here and being able to get into the corner in front of that pawn, and then the king could just stay there and be, until we put him in a stalemate position. So, and I have a video, so you could go back and look at my older videos. Somewhere I have an opposite bishop, or opposite colored rook pawn ending with the bishop like this. So, the easy win would be to have a dark squared bishop that could cover the promotion square. So here, I think, well, we can't go up there because they could go here attacking that. So do we have to move? Wow, maybe we have to go that way. Huh. And then what? That makes an entire wall along this G file that the king can't go to. And then our king will be able to come up in here and help. So, if their king comes forward, we move up to here and grab the opposition, start pushing their king away. That's an interesting pattern there. I don't know if I've come across that possibility before. So, keep that in mind. That could be a useful pattern in that endgame. All right, on to puzzle number 4. The king was under attack by the queen and stepped forward. Okay. What do we have now? Well, if we look at checks, our queen can go here or here, delivering a check, here, 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 all kinds of checks, but most of them the king would be captured. If we go here, it prevents the king from escaping, but the king has different options. Our bishop is doing a good job of covering these squares, so actually the king can't move to these light squares. So if we go here, the king would what? Have to move there. Oh, wow. And then we could capture this pawn with check. The king would have to move back to f6. And then we could go back here with check again. Once the king moves back up, then what? We check. The king starts running until we can get a mate in. So this one's a little tricky. Pause if you want to try and figure all that out in your head. If you're ready, here we go. So we're going to check. Then we're going to go here, go back, checking again. And now the king doesn't have places to hide like it did. If it goes here, we can check there. Now the king would have to move to the corner. Then we could check and then deliver the mate on h7 backed up by the bishop here. All right. I hope you got all that. We'll move on to puzzle number 5. So the king has stepped forward as it was under attack by our queen. What do we do here? Well, we look for the checks first. Now don't forget, pawns can be attacking pieces as well. We could push this pawn forward, delivering a check. This pawn prevents the king from running forward. Our queen prevents the king from running back. So once we check with this pawn, the only move would be to go here. And then we could capture. With a check, the king would have to move here. And then, what do we have after that? All right, well, let's see if this follow-up is good enough. If we go here, the king, remember, when a king is being attacked, there are 3 options: capture, block, or run. Now, if the pawn checks, they're diagonally side by side there, so you can't block that. There's no way to capture that pawn. The king can only run here to g3. Now, we could capture with check, but then the king would be able to run forward. And what follow-up do we have after that? We could check again, and the king would have to come forward even further. But then the king could even move here, attacking this pawn. Oh, wow. It's hard to see that one. Now, what if we threaten? Now, if we go here, they could take that, I guess. So what if we go there, they go here. If we push forward, I don't know if I like that. It's not as forcing. So check, king has to move here. If we take with check, the king has to move here. So I'm just going to go ahead and play it out. You definitely want to try and calculate as much as you can in your head before making the moves like I'm about to do. But, I want to keep the video moving along so it's not, too long. And let me know in the comments if do you want longer videos, shorter videos? If you have a request for something specific, definitely let me know. So is this the move? Yes, they like that. It's forcing, it gets the king on the run. But what is the best follow-up? Oh, wow. Is there a mate right there? I think so. So we can just go here and deliver the mate. Remember, when they're in check, is there any way to capture the queen if we move here? No. Any way to block? No. Can the king run anywhere? No. So we have a mate. All right, that was rated 2170. I hope you found that one a little more quickly than I did. So on to puzzle number 6. the rook has what, dropped back here? Oh, to prevent our pawn from promoting. Okay. So what can we do here? Oh, so this is a great pattern to know. If we go here, we prevent the rook from covering that promotion square. And if they take our rook, well then we can just take and promote our pawn. So, if we go here, what can they do? They're probably going to try and get some counterplay if there's any way to do that. They could take, and that also covers the promotion square. So we would probably have to take ourselves. They could do what then? I don't really see. I mean, they could push forward here with check. I think that does it. So that little pattern there, they decide to check us immediately. Now, what can we do here? We could probably just move there. If we move onto the light squares, the bishop can harass us. So if we just drop back, they'll be able to get behind the passed pawn, but then we can still push forward. Oh, and they take, we take. They'll be able to grab this other pawn. So do we have something better? Oh, we just block with our pawn like this. So maybe that's better. Remember, when you're in check, capture, which we can't do, block or run. So here, it's probably better to block. So now, man, they're putting up some resistance here, that's for sure. We could check and then promote. Or if we just promote immediately and they decide to go here, forking, well then we're going to grab these two pieces, giving up our queen, but we'll have the extra rook at the end, and that should be enough to win. All right, so we'll just go ahead and promote. So now we can give that up, but we're going to grab both of those pieces, and what can they do? They have this passed pawn, but our rook can get behind that and stop it. All right, on to puzzle number 7. Bishop drops back, helping defend the king, attacking the rook at the same time, threatening a checkmate in one move if the queen captures that rook. So what can we do? We need to look for checks first. Okay, so is there a winning move immediately if we just go there? I think so. All right, well, that was a 2010 rated problem. Now I had a viewer ask about, well, first of all, let's move on to the next problem. That way you can look at that while I'm speaking here. So on to puzzle number 8. Now I had a viewer ask about if they were able to solve 1,800 to 2,000 puzzles in 10 or 15 seconds apiece, so they didn't have much problem with them, what would their rating be? Well, that depends on a lot of factors, because you can be really good at tactics and maybe calculating, but then your openings might have issues, or your end games, or your strategic play in chess. So it's hard to tell what your exact rating would be, just from how well you do in tactics. Because I think on chess.com, my tactics rating is up to like 2,700 or something. And I'm nowhere near that kind of rating. My normal rating is around 1,700. So, there's a lot a lot of factors, and it's hard to tell. Somebody could be bad at tactics but good at other areas, but tactics, calculation, and pattern recognition do make a big difference in your play. All right, so we attacked the king with check. The king could not block or capture that queen, so the king runs forward. Now what do we do? All right. Well, if we look at the material, we're down by 2 pawns. So that's not so good. And there's a possibility of check and then grabbing our queen. So we need to look for checks first. Which one is best? If we go here, the rook could capture us. I don't see a good follow-up after that. So that leaves us, we don't want to go here. The king will take us. Only option, I guess, would be to go here. And the king can only go there. Okay, so I think that works. Pause the video, see if you can figure it out. If you're ready, here we go. So we're going to check the king. There's no way to capture or block. The king will have to run, and the only place to run would be here on h4. Then do we have a good follow-up? Well, the only way to keep checking, well, one of the only ways, the only good way, is maybe to sacrifice our rook. Pawn captures, but then our queen can move down here and deliver a mate. So check, check, and if they capture our rook, well, then our queen can move down here, delivering the mate, protected by this pawn on h6. All right, on to puzzle number 9. We're down to the final 2. I hope you're able to solve these and you're doing well. And feel free to leave comments and let me know how your chess is progressing. If you have any questions. I'm not a chess master, but I have many years of experience playing. I wish I would have started when I was younger, and then I'd probably be a better player now. But I also have a huge library that I've collected over the years of different books. So, I have a lot of reference books and guides that I can look at to find answers if I'm not sure of them myself. Why am I not a higher rated player? Well, I probably started getting serious about chess later in life. And also, my calculation and calculation speed are 2 of my biggest weaknesses. That's why if I have to hurry in a chess game, I just don't play as well as if I have like a nice, long, slow game. All right, here we go. The king was what? Under check by the rook here. It runs to the back rank. So what do we do now? All right, I'm thinking we use the pattern of bishop and rook working together to deliver a mate. So pause the video, see if you can figure that out. If you're ready, here we go. Maybe we go there and we threaten to bring the rook up here, delivering mate on the back rank. Now, do they have a way to stop that? How can they stop that? Check our king or find a way to block the attack, but I don't think they can. So if we go here, they could try and, well, even if they try to pin our bishop, that doesn't do anything. We can still just go there. So I think that works. Do you see anything that I don't see, a way for them to stop us? I don't think so. So we just go there. So that's what they were looking for, because the bishop will cover the rook's move here, which will attack. So it's going to hit, all these squares are going to be covered. The bishop is covering that one, and the king covers the final square there on f7. All right, on to the final problem, puzzle number 10. The queen has stepped forward. What can we do in this position? And what is happening here? Okay, the queen stepped forward. Maybe to, capture our queen if we try to check there. So let's look at the material. We have 7 pawns. Our opponent has 1 less than we do. They have 6. We both have bishop and knight, 2 rooks, and a queen. All right. Now, do we have any good checks? So if we look at checks first. Now, generally, when you're trying to figure out what to do, how should you proceed? Well, you definitely want to look at what your opponent just did to see how to respond to that. If it's a check, if it's a forcing move, or so on. But if there's nothing pressing, then you want to look at checks first, as they're the most forcing. So do you have any good checks? If we go here, we'll be captured by the rook. And I don't see any other checks. So captures. Do they have any unprotected pieces that we can take? Looks like everything's protected, except for this rook, but we don't have a way to get to that, unless this knight moved. Okay. Maybe we can attack the queen if they take, okay, if we push this pawn, maybe that's a possibility. So you want to look at checks, captures, and threats. If we don't have any good checks, we don't have any good pieces that we can just capture or pawns, well, then we want to look at threats. So maybe, as I said, we push forward here, attacking the queen. If the queen captures, well, then we can just take the knight here, and then we're threatening the rook as well. So if we push forward, they have to protect that knight. So maybe they go here. Well, then what do we do? Oh, then we could attack again. So I don't know. That looks pretty serious. If we attack the queen, they have to protect their knight. So that's the only move they can make. Well, then we can go here attacking the queen with our bishop. The only way to protect that knight is what? To go here. But then we have a discovered attack once we move our bishop. So I think I'm going to go with that. Oh, now we do have to watch out for this, but if we push that pawn, it takes care of that. Now, what if we go here and they just take and we take? Well, then if they try to check us, oh, we can drop back, defending our bishop and blocking the check. So I think that's the way to go. All right. Well, now what? Do we just go through with our plan like this? Okay. And then I think we have to drop back here. All right. So after that, we're ahead with this extra knight. So I guess that's what they wanted. Okay, I hope you were able to solve those problems and you did well. If not, as I said, leave comments. Let me know if you need more difficult problems. I may do some master level puzzles in the future, 2200 and higher, and do a playlist of those. But if you have requests for anything specific, let me know. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to support the channel if you haven't already. So thanks for watching and have a super chess day.